Please subscribe and comment. Emily Walker had always been the kind of wife most people dreamed of. She cooked, cleaned, supported her husband through every phase of his career, and loved him without limits. Their house in a quiet Atlanta suburb was a reflection of their 10-year marriage, neat, structured, peaceful. But peace can be deceptive, and Emily had no idea how fast her world was about to unravel. Her husband, Jacob Walker, was a handsome, charming man who ran a consulting firm downtown. He'd always been attentive, always had a kind word, and even after 10 years of marriage, Emily still felt butterflies when he kissed her forehead before heading to work. But recently, Jacob had grown distant. More business trips, more long nights at the office, more missed dinners. Emily tried not to overthink it. She chalked it up to stress and pressure, the normal tides of any long-term relationship. One Thursday afternoon, Emily prepared a surprise dinner. It wasn't their anniversary or his birthday, it was just because. She made his favorite, lemon herb chicken with roasted potatoes and steamed vegetables. She wore the blue silk dress he always said made her eyes sparkle. By 7 o'clock, the candles were lit. The table was set. But Jacob never walked through the door. By 9, she had texted him twice and called once. No response. She waited at the table with the food turning cold. Her heart, warmer than the meal, still held hope that he'd come through the door smiling with a story about a meeting running late. But the house remained silent. Meanwhile, Jacob was 2 cities away, in a luxury suite at a downtown hotel with 2 women, Alana and Brittany. He had met them at a networking event a few months earlier, and things escalated quickly. They were young, energetic, and always complimented him. Told him how smart he was, how powerful he looked, how lucky his wife must be. And Jacob, starved for attention and flattered beyond reason, began believing the lies he told himself. He sipped wine while Alana nestled against his side on the couch, giggling at something Brittany had said. Brittany danced barefoot across the room, music playing low in the background, the vibe drenched in temptation. Jacob's phone buzzed on the coffee table. Emily's name lit up on the screen, but he turned it face down and looked away. Back at home, Emily tried to sleep. She finally gave up around midnight and curled up on the couch, staring at the door as if willing him to walk through it. When the front lock finally clicked open at 2:30 in the morning, she jumped up. "Jacob," she called softly. He walked in, loosened tie, unbuttoned shirt, the smell of expensive perfume and alcohol clinging to his skin. "Hey," he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. "I've been worried. Where have you been?" "Work," he said quickly. "There was a client dinner. It ran late." "I made you dinner," she whispered. He glanced at the table still partially set. "Sorry. I'm exhausted. Can we talk tomorrow?" She nodded, lips pressed tight. And he walked past her, disappearing into the bedroom like a ghost. The next morning, he was gone before she woke up. No note. No message. Just a silence that had grown too heavy to ignore. She sipped her coffee in the kitchen, staring at her phone, torn between believing the man she married and listening to the voice in her head that said something was deeply wrong. That voice grew louder when, 2 days later, she decided to visit his office downtown to surprise him with lunch. She carried a brown bag with his favorite sandwich and a hot coffee, rehearsing in her mind how he might smile and pull her into his arms. But when she got there, the receptionist looked up puzzled. "Emily? Oh, I didn't know Jacob had scheduled you in. He's not here today. Took a personal day." "A personal day," she repeated, frozen. The woman nodded. "Yeah, he mentioned something about being out of town." Emily didn't respond. She turned and walked out slowly, the bag of food still in her hand, her mind spinning. Jacob wasn't just lying. He was somewhere else. With someone else. That night, she waited again. But not for him, this time for a sign, a slip, a message. And it came. She opened his iPad and saw his synced text messages. She hadn't meant to look, but it was unlocked, and her trembling hands moved on their own. She found pictures. Messages from Alana. A location sent to Brittany. Comments like, "Last night was insane," and "You're so much hotter than your wife." Her hands shook as she scrolled, each message like a knife cutting deeper. When Jacob returned that evening, casual and smug, he found Emily sitting calmly at the dining table, her eyes fixed on him. "We need to talk," she said. "Not tonight," he muttered, pulling off his shoes. "I'm tired." "No, Jacob," she said, firmer this time. "We're doing this now." He sighed and sat down across from her. "I know," she said. "About Alana." "Brittany." "The hotel." He froze. Her voice trembled only slightly. "I saw the texts. The pictures. I know everything." Jacob blinked slowly. "It's not what it looks like." She laughed, a short, bitter laugh. "Really?" "Because it looks like my husband of 10 years has been sleeping with 2 women behind my back while I've been home worrying about why you're working so late." "Emily," he started, standing up. "Listen?" "No," she interrupted. "You listen. I have loved you faithfully. I have supported every dream you chased. I believed in you even when you didn't believe in yourself. And this is what I get." Jacob's face paled. "It was a mistake." "No," she said softly, shaking her head. "A mistake is forgetting a birthday. What you did was a choice." He sank back down, eyes wide. "Please don't leave me." "It meant nothing." I was confused. I just felt invisible. And I felt abandoned," she whispered. The room fell silent. She stood up and walked over to the door, where a suitcase stood packed. She'd done it that morning. She had rehearsed this moment again and again. "You can stay here tonight," she said. "But tomorrow I want you gone." Jacob didn't move. She walked upstairs without another word. That night, he slept on the couch for the first time in their marriage. In the morning, Emily left the house early, not waiting for him to wake up. She didn't want to hear another excuse. She had heard enough. Weeks passed. The divorce process began quietly. Jacob called, begged, pleaded. But Emily remained firm. She started therapy, went back to yoga. She reconnected with her college friends. She began writing again, something she'd given up years ago when life became too busy. Her heart was healing, and she could feel it. One evening, she received a message from Dr. Alex Green, a therapist she had seen once with Jacob during the early stages of their separation. They had connected over literature and life philosophies. His message was simple: "Hope you're doing okay. Coffee sometime." She stared at the message, smiled gently, and replied, "I'd like that." A few days later, they met at a quiet cafe near the park. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter replacing what had once been tears. Emily felt seen again, not just as a wife or a woman wronged, but as herself. By spring, Emily had moved into a small apartment on her own. It wasn't grand, but it was hers. She painted the walls soft pastels and filled the shelves with books and flowers. The light returned to her eyes. The dreams she had once shelved quietly in the corners of her life had begun to blossom again. As for Jacob, he called once more. His voice cracked. "I ruined the best thing I ever had." "You didn't just ruin it," she replied gently. "You let it die." He never called again. Emily stood by the window of her apartment that night, watching the city lights. Her past was painful, yes, but it no longer controlled her. She had rediscovered her strength, not in spite of what happened, but because of it. She whispered to herself, "I am enough." And finally, she believed it.